Good afternoon, student. Warm welcome to Natural Science and Health Education 3. My name is Ananias Akwetelela. I'm going to be your tutor for the subject. I have to prepare you with this for this subject for you to prepare yourself for the examination that is April, August, and November. So it is very important for you to listen to these presentations, pick up the expectations, so that these are the things you have to prepare and familiarize yourself for you to be ready and be able to perform well in the exam. So you have to study all your notes and masters in detail all the summarized content and expectations in this presentation. So there are very important terms that are highlighted for you here, colleagues, such as beams, microscope, lay, a transparent material, atoms, convergent beam, current, divergent beam, element, energy, force, fractional distillation, gravitational force, lightning, mass, nitrogen, non-renewable energy, opaque object, oxygen, parallel photosynthesis, renewable energy, sexual abuse, simple distillation, sun, Welwitschia mirabilis, time, translucent object, as well as insoluble substances. These terms are very important because you might expect them to come in examinations. For example, an exam questions that ask a student, for example, provide one term that best describe a certain statement that I might give or provide an exam. Or maybe I have to ask you, define the certain term, oxygen, coal, or something. You must be able to define or explain the term in detail or differentiate them between each other. So those terms you must be able to understand them and be able to apply them whenever you are asked in which angle you might be asked them to define them or explain or match them or something. So the following are important tips. This content you might expect maybe 20%, 50%, 8% from this highlighted point because they are very important. So when you are studying or preparing for yourself for exam, you must be at least able to know what are the sexual transmitted disease, how they are being transmitted, how to prevent them, what is the risk involved in there. So renewable versus non-renewable energy sources, you must be able to differentiate them, distinguish them, and give maybe also which one is more important, which one have better advantage, or which one is something like that. So physical property of substances, you must also know that. Method of maintaining sexual health. How parent could prevent pregnant teenagers among their children, because pregnancy is undesirable among a child, a student or kids. So how do you prevent this one? How do parents prevent this one? Gas supporting combustion, you must be able to know or mention that gas if I happen to ask you that in the exam. How sexual transmitted disease can be transmitted from one person to another. You must know that in detail, so that if I ask you, describe in detail how, or mention or explain, you must be able to do that to get your full marks. Ways on how sexual transmitted diseases can be prevented from spreading from one person to another. It's a highlighted area. Chemical properties of substances. Gas, which is essential for living organisms. The atomic structures of elements, their group common characteristics that differentiate them and make them similar if you are in one group. So you have to know the 7 group, from group 1 to group 7. You must know the anatomical structures. You must know the common characteristics among them. You must know what differentiates them. Why the group 1 is not like group 6 or group 7. Something like that. You must also know how to convert, for example, from minute to second, second to minute, something like that. So you must be able to convert time. Matter is very important, so you must be able to maybe state or describe 3 stages of matter. And also be able to explain to me, if I ask you, for example, describe or mention what happened to the particle of gas when they are heated. So the meaning of exothermic reaction, you must also know the soluble substances. You must be able to differentiate and also to test carbon dioxide or to test oxygen and vice versa. You must be able to differentiate their ways or methodologies of how you test each of these gas. You must be able to experimentally and explain and draw and show it to me. How do you test these two different gases? And you must also be able to give me the characteristics or the characters that enable which malleable as plant, which is very important to survive in the desert. You should also be able to say why substances fell on Earth, and what is a suspension, and why nitrogen is used as an inert gas. We continue with our presentation. There are a lot of forms of energy, so you must be able at least to give us the form of energy that plants use to make their own food to survive. The advantage of wearing a safety goggle during the experiment. You have to think about safety involved in there when you are doing experiment in the lab. Why is so important? Why is so significant for students to use or to know how to use safety goggles in the lab? What are the precautions involved there? So you must also be able to at least detail out the metal and non-metal, and also what is cross-circuit, chemical formula for water. And you must also at least be able to tell me why buildings in hot countries are often painted white. Why not? They are not painted green or blue or black. So that means you have to know the character of white or characters of white. Why it is more significant to be used to paint building instead of using black. Think of refractions of the heat and absorption. So what happened when two negative charges are brought near each other? You must be able to tell why. And importantly, you must also know the law of conservation of energy. Differentiate streams of light lay, differentiate between simple distillation and fractional distillation. And you must also be able at least to highlight the best way to make water from the river safe for drinking. Practically, you have to think and also have to read more. Like, if I have a river at my side, for example, how do I practically save this water in the river so that at least I won't pollute it? And you must also know the advantage of hydroelectricity. Name organisms that use energy directly from the sun. I think that one student, most of them, they used to know that. So please just read about it. Which term is used to describe organisms that feed on plant? Think of minivoles, carnivores, and other things. Huh? So thinking of right in the everyday life, we have ruminants and illuminated objects. So you must be able to differentiate, distinguish, or give the different characteristics that differentiate them, with also detailed example. So they must be able to give example for that. You also have to at least know 3 things that are necessary for the fire to occur. Think of energy, think of source, think of heat, think of everything. The unity of measuring force, and we must also be able to calculate weight of a bag of maybe stone, of maybe metal or potato or anything, at least with a certain given mass. This one I give 8 kg, just an example. So the life cycle of an insect, you must be able to draw it, you must be able to explain it, you must, from stage 1 to the last stage. Why current can flow only in closed circuit, but not in open circuit? This is about now electricity characteristics. You must be able to know this. Why overloading electricity is not safe? Why is dangerous? So think of your safety, think of other people's safety, think of, something like that. The characteristics of living organisms, very important. The 2 use of periscope, you must know that. Why it is dangerous to talk on a corded phone during a thunderstorm. Think of lightning traveling, the way it travels. Think about how it travels from atmosphere to the earth, the impact and everything. Flowering plant versus non-flowering plant, you must be able to differentiate it, give the characteristics that differentiate each of these. And the function of human reproductive system is very important. The human reproductive system, you must be able to know the function of that one in detail. We continue. The difference between static electricity and electric current, students should be able to differentiate that. The force that causes subject to fall to the ground, but not to at least just stay in the atmosphere. Think about gravitational force and everything. The instrument used to measure temperature, I must know that. Disadvantage, also the advantage of fossil fuel, must know that. Effect of acid rain on the environment. Why is central nervous so paramount, so important to an organism? Can organism live without central nervous system? If yes, if no, why? Student must be able to justify that. Ecosystems and habitats, distinguish those in detail. The function of excretory system. 5 excretory organ in the human body. Differentiate between conductors and insulator. Describe some ways of conserving water in the community. Describe agricultural source of air pollution. Think of industrial, think of, we talk about agriculture, but think of like application of manure, think of rainfall seasons, think of anything that might, of course, be linked to agriculture as a source of pollution of air. With this, we end our presentations. I thank you, students, very well for listening to these presentations. I hope you have learned a lot from these presentations, and I enhance the student to ask me or to contact me on my email that I put on the first slide. So that should they have any questions, or they can even call me, I'm readily available to help them, because I'm there to help students in order to perform well. So with that, I thank you very much, and I wish you all the best in your upcoming exams.